When you visit a carnival, there's gimmicks surrounding a big audience. Coleco designed Carnival for the Intellivision not only to present us with something from the arcade, but also to show us a thing related to Mattel's intelligent television. As you can see here with this Sears Intellivision controller here, Sears Intellivision. Disc, obsolete remote buttons, and obsolete fire buttons, and it controls more like a gimmick rather than a device, but it's still interesting and historical. This shooting game involves controls like those founded on Beauty and the Beast and represents the intelligent style of Astro Smash and Night Stalker combined without the flaws. You're in front of rows of little wooden animals and must shoot them with a silly gun for points. The gun is rather silly because you have to wave it around enough to get the Carnival game going your way, and it's kind of like some of those older shooters from Chuck E. Cheese restaurants in the 90s. Machines aren't always very precise in dealing with their controls. So, for instance, with this Intellivision disc here, you generally slide and just take a tap to do the controls on the run. Whereas with the Atari 5200 joystick here, it tends to rather just smush, tilt, and generally bounce on the rotation. Definitely quite a significant pardon. The whole game is built up on a fad, while a teasing version of Somewhere My Love is playing. Actually, I've gotten stuck on some musical notes and can't decide if I should sing Somewhere or My Love. I have gotten stuck on some musical notes and can't decide if I should sing Somewhere or My Love, of course. Such music is bothersome on purpose. We're talking about a carnival game where unfair advantages often occur here and there. And that is why, generally, it is good that Carnival is for silly shits and giggles, and that it is for our entertainment with fiction and fantasy. Fiction and fantasy make it easier for us to develop video games that really work well on controls, and this game generally does do well here with just a few minor quacks and giggles here. So, for example, it's really good to have video games for, like, video game controllers for these kinds of games, you know? Demon Attack and Frogger, because these just look outlandish and out of this world. They look like something from some galaxy future of those 80s VHS sort of stuff and style. Whereas on the other hand, Coleco, Mattel, and Atari did try to have realistic sort of games like football, and, you know, whenever there's a video game that tries to go for something really realistic like football or golf, it's more likely to actually fail rather than succeed. And to this day, it's still not very likely that something like basketball will work on the PS5 as well as, like, let's say, Jack and Dexter. You know, you gotta play it smart, even in terms of modern gaming. And here I'm talking about retro gaming. And it leaves me a little bit speechless here and there. I mean, at least I have the reset and power switches on my Sears Intellivision console. Definitely it's one of those consoles where some of the functions are actually on the console itself, the Sears Intellivision console, and not on this Sears Intellivision remote, because this remote, while it does do the action, it doesn't do the options. So in that sense, this is not the kind of retro controller that lets you pause or reset. And Atari tried to put that modern TV remote function into the Atari 5200 joysticks, but the circuits in these controllers were thin and strict, and they were more likely to snap apart on a quick, unfortunate moment, causing some premature breakage over time. In fact, at times while playing an Atari 5200 game, I would fail to pause the game or even start the game because the flick circuit can actually stick apart like a piece of tape inside the plastic encasement, kind of like a failed origami art. And this controller does have Japanese parts, so this controller is similar to the origami art with interesting engineering. Definitely very interesting. And well, at least I have the reset and power switches on my Sears Intellivision console. In fact, each switch helps me get the game started when it's thinking. Even the reset button acts as a guest service button, available to me in my own home by Self-Help Management. The early 80s marked a large transition from the old ways of computers. We no longer had to work in a large building with lots of professional programmers to get a video function going on a TV-like monitor. Probably something you would not even think of as a TV today. By the 80s, we're able to use those simple switches on our video game consoles and to make easy, simple repair options possible. In other words, at times the reset button, the pause button, the power button would act as like emergency services just in case the program would clog or error or bug. Because after all, sometimes a bird can fly in the cloud and get stuck somewhere because of some unknown supernatural force. Who knows? But, yes. My used machine has hiccuped. We're able to use those simple switches on our video game consoles and to make easy, simple repair options possible. I've posted a YouTube video of this game, brand new. It says in the instruction manual that my program could malfunction if given the wrong, strange, bizarre moment. That's not surprising. Guest service would have been available to owners of the Sears Intellivision, and Coleco had to offer something of an arcade experience as well as an intelligent design through some remarkable games. As even gamers can visualize experiences at home during the onslaught of information realized of 80s society. Ducks fly well in the game. There's a handy off switch for the music, which is comfortable and humorous to use during the heat of battle, and those pedals on the roller coaster require us to roll the gun around on the floor between positions for some accurate shooting with the 16-way Intellivision disc controller. To tell you the truth, the target bear revolve on some better movements from the gun, and pinpoint accuracy is possible from the sudden revampment of physics exclusive to those bare stages. At first, I didn't care for the little wooden toy objects until the floating hostilities became more of a paradox in a situation for a comical performance under the nauseating song, a tune that's broken up into bits while the Intellivision's streams of information give vivid proportions to those little animals. I've been very proud to use my rubber fire buttons for the Intellivision game, and hey, you can even take this controller and tilt the controller this way instead of this way to play the game. A benefit of this kind of controller unlike a modern controller, is that you can actually move it around, almost like a blade, and you can just sort of use the buttons at sideways angles. You cannot really do that with an Xbox or PlayStation controller because those require strict, unmovable, and permanent joy handles. And, well, for that reason, the PlayStation and Xbox controllers over the years have been seeming less original in terms of video game controllers. I consider it an original video game controller when it's, something, like this. Like this would be like an original controller. An original controller. A controller that is important, significant, and meaningful. Whether you like it or not. It's original, Like, I consider a controller original when it's something like this. Not when it's like Nintendo, pad, push, AB. That's not original, and that's they've been producing too many of those controllers. That gets annoying. Yeah, so, I've been very proud to use my rubber fire buttons for the Intellivision game. It's a shame that it won't necessarily play on, an Intellivision 2 console due to the fact that I have a new controller for the latter machine. Plus, I think the small black disc on the Intellivision 2 controller could have made my silly gun move faster and exquisitely ferocious. Sometimes ducks are more quick in getting to your bullets for chewing an ammunition erasure. I've gotten past the two-bear stage. Bullets will fly kind of like slow-motion cannonballs or flares. Once again, the fiction being played here for the imbalanced Carnival game is unsurprising and just on a loose basis. Take care and play Carnival for the Intellivision when you can. Have a good one.